Contact us at info@WRMI.net. Waiting in the Everglades.
Well, hello, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone listening in to tonight's broadcast of VORW Radio International, the voice of the report of the week, going out with you. You know, kind of throw your hands up in the air while you're doing that for maximum expression. But, could be better, could be worse, but good enough anyway. I mostly stayed in today. I didn't really go out and do anything. I got some Panera bread delivered today, and I got this, what did I get today? I got a smoothie, which was pretty good. And I got this turkey BLT sandwich. Now, granted, they give it a fancy name. I think they call it the bacon turkey Bravo sandwich. But I just get it with, the greens, some tomatoes, some turkey, and bacon. But I get it without any cheese or sauce. And it was good. I could only eat half, so I put the other half away. But it made for a good meal, a light meal, which is what I was looking for today. And I was happy with it. The quality was good. It was one of the better sandwiches I've had from Panera Bread, truth be told, so I was glad to have that happen today. And otherwise, I just stayed in. I managed the YouTube channel, and then, granted, I monitored closely the situation in Afghanistan, which I'll cover a little bit. This is one of those situations now that it's being covered, addressed, and analyzed from every perspective by every major media organization. So, I'll cover at least the basics. There is one aspect of the situation that I do want to discuss. If you know me well enough, of course I've researched this, and of course I'm going to talk about it, but I haven't heard anywhere else, and that's the radio aspect of things. But in short, it was a huge day in terms of the situation in Afghanistan. At this point in time, the government of Afghanistan is no more. The capital city of Kabul has fallen to the Taliban. The former president of Afghanistan, Ashraf Ghani, has fled the country along with his administration and officials, and with the exception of the international airport in Kabul, the Taliban controls the entirety of Afghanistan now, and they gave an address from the presidential palace, right at the former president's desk, declaring that the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan is in charge and is the government. So, the transition of power, certainly. A bad situation, but if there is any sort of silver lining, there was some very heavy fighting in Kabul last night, but after that, I guess the government, they figured it was a lost cause, and they surrendered peacefully. Other than that, at least it minimizes death and destruction amongst civilians. Kabul was a very, very populated city. It's, I think, the 75th largest city in the world, so at least it was able to relatively peacefully transfer power. The U.S. Embassy has been completely evacuated. There still is a large presence of U.S. troops at the international airport, and it seems as though there is at least some sort of agreement between the Western forces and the Taliban that they'll leave each other alone. The Taliban will stay out of the airport and let the folks evacuate, and that's that. But still a very chaotic and hectic scene at the international airport nonetheless. I was monitoring some of the flights that at least had the transponders on the radar, and I was looking at all the different planes swarming out of Kabul earlier, and there was a huge, absolutely massive massive concentration of U.S. Air Force planes in the area. I even saw some planes from the State Department getting out of there. It was certainly interesting to watch. On one other note, and like I said, in terms of the radio aspect of things, this is just one of those things that, yeah, I did research it. I actually did get an email a couple nights ago about radio in Afghanistan, if they have shortwave over there, or what exactly the media landscape is like. In Afghanistan, it is one of the countries where internet access is still very limited outside of some of the major cities. Some parts of the country really don't even have electricity, so radio is still the predominant medium in that country. Now, there is FM radio in some of the cities, but there are also a few high-power AM stations located near Kabul, which were run by the government of Afghanistan as a national radio service, and another station was operated by the Voice of America. There were a few shortwave transmitters in Kabul, but none of them have been operational lately, so those are probably sitting there collecting dust somewhere. There are many shortwave broadcasts targeting Afghanistan. The Taliban does have a radio station of their own. The Afghanistan government has Radio Afghanistan. The Taliban does have a radio service called Voice of Sharia, and up until now it was broadcast on some of the local FM stations in the cities that they now control. One afternoon, around 2 p.m., as the Taliban was fully overtaking Kabul, I did start looking at some of those online shortwave receivers to see if I could find one located anywhere near Afghanistan to see if I could listen to those high-power AM stations and see what exactly is being broadcast at that point in time. So I did find a receiver located in India that actually was getting a very good signal of 1107 kHz AM band, and that was Radio Afghanistan's frequency. They were broadcasting with 400 kilowatts, a nice US-built transmitter at that, so I listened in. From the research that I did, it seemed as though the personnel at that station had just abandoned it and were pretty much just letting some archived material be played. It was mostly just music, and then what I saw some other listeners say, apparently it was just a program about fish in Afghanistan, and that played for a bit, there was dead air, and after a few minutes, Quran reading for a broadcast and an announcement in Pashto declaring the country now an Islamic Emirate, and also the capture of Kabul was heard. So clearly, now that high-power station is in the hands of the Taliban, and I imagine that they'll syndicate the Voice of Sharia program as a national radio at this point. Interestingly enough, the stations that were run by the Voice of America, despite being in Afghanistan, are still up and running, broadcasting the Voice of America, despite now being in Taliban-held territory. So that was an interesting thing. The national radio went down, but the VOA relays still continue. But this is what the radio scene in Afghanistan is looking like at this point. It's just one of those specific things that is never going to be discussed in detail. So I figure, well, if that's what I was doing today, may as well share it. I mean, why not? It's pertinent to a current event. You're listening to VORW, Radio International, the voice of the report of the week. And that's all that I have to discuss today.